we started with an EP, but I knew the record that I wanted to write. I think people expected me to write a purely pop record, but I don't know. I learned from artists that wrote concept albums, and all my favorite artists ever had a through line and tried to really paint a story. And I love the theater of that. So it was for me mostly focusing on the story I wanted to tell. Most of my time spent was planning, and then I kind of just busted it out. I'm not one of those people that writes thousands of songs to pick one. I work them, I know the concept I want, and if I don't like where it's going, I switch it, but I keep the concept, So I've written a couple versions of each of the ideas, because the whole arc of this story is it's kind of you run away and you sort of don't know who you are anymore, and you kind of become empowered through this journey of self-discovery. And it's about being a modern woman, which to me is very relatable to being a modern man. It's interesting. I have almost as many straight male fans as I have females, and I found that very interesting. But and it basically kind of ends, and thematically it kind of changes too, from being more aggressive and really rigid to kind of a bit more flowy and folky. And it's kind of through freedom, finding your independence, but kind of where the record starts is where it ends. It starts with running away and talking about feeling like you're a gatherer, or you've painted yourself a gatherer when you're a hunter, and it kind of ends with the same sentiment, and kind of pushing yourself to keep looking even though you found what you wanted. And so that was mostly my focus, was really getting that across. And it really has the feel of a traveler's album. And I lived out of my car for a couple years. I'm a bit of a nomad, and I felt like it represented me, and that's what I wanted to focus on. So as far as songs, I kind of just wrote the ones I wanted to write. Here Is Home was a song that I wrote and worked on, as the initial concept was I was living out of my car and I was broke and living with friends, and I was getting really down. I was trying to make music, and nothing was happening for me at the time. And I felt like I didn't own a lot of stuff, and I was kind of, hustling and trying to make it work. And it was originally kind of a self-pep talk song, and it was here is home, wherever I am, I have everything I need. And it kind of adapted, because as the record continued, I realized that the song was much more suited as a song for the arc of the story. It made more sense for it to be a real love song to someone of trust. I don't hear a lot of pop songs out there that aren't, at least for females, that aren't completely submissive. I feel like there's a lot of that, and I wanted to make a record that was anti-submission and was about finding your freedom and finding someone that runs beside you versus follows or runs too far ahead. And so that song kind of switched into something that was a song about love and trust, but again, the theme of gathering. It's kind of my last attempt at being the domestic, the homemaker, the lover, Here Is Home, which then I guess leads to the next song. And I thought that would be a nice turn of events, because the first song on the record talks about how I was itching to get out of that role, and then the final song kind of mimics that mindset of running away from feeling confined and domestic. And so yeah, it changed based on the theme, but it's, I work songs, I work them, I beat them into the ground, and then they hate me, and I go, that's what you're gonna be now. After a while, in the beginning, I've known Benny for a while, and he didn't want to make, we could have made a big 12 single bum 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 record, and he wanted to stray away from that, because that's what he had been focusing on for so long. So with him, it was really cool, because we both were embarking on kind of our first sort of journey doing what we were doing, because he hasn't really done a lot of stuff like what we just did. And then as far as Michael's just a genius, and when he's in the room, I always have the ideas in my head, but I'm not always so good at, I have to sing them to him, and he's like, oh, okay, well, then we need to play it like that. And he's just so in his head about the technicality. I'm more the feeling and the thought, and I don't know, it was a really good blend. But at the end of the day, once people become your friends, it's not it's not oh, look at these, they're just people, and you collaborate with them, and you get in fights, and you work things out. So it's an honor and a blessing, but it's also a partnership, Truthfully, I love the collaborations I've done thus far. I felt very grateful. But I want to focus more. I feel like a main focus of my first record was people caring so much about collaboration. I think that's so nice, but I think second record is going to be much more just me, not proving myself, but in the game as a female, that's kind of what you have to do, or people don't even attempt to give you any credit for what you have done. So probably that, but definitely going a bit more to the rock side of things. That's kind of where my heart is. So for me, you know, I was raised on a lot of psych rock. That's like what my dad was into. Loved the Beatles. I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan. I'm a big Black Sabbath fan. And then on top of that, though, I mean, I was raised in the 90s. So I loved the like 90s R&B divas. I loved Britney. I'm kind of all over the place. I love the lady folkies. I love female singer-songwriters. People that think about their words, though, mostly. I can't get behind pop music when I hear it, and the lyrics make me cringe. I'm very, I like riddles, and I like things that tickle, and so I'm very picky when it comes to pop, but when pop is done right, I support it. It's a completely different show, because the thing is, recorded music, you don't want to beat people over the head with it. You, like, sing the songs out, and they're emotive, and they're beautiful, and it's like theater. But most of my favorite artists were rock stars, and they were on stage, and they really brought a live presence. And my show, when you see my show, is a rock show. It's not a pop show. I'm not a pop artist when you see me on stage, and even my record doesn't really feel like a pop record. It's kind of its own little world. But I think it translates. I think the best way to translate is show people that you're better on stage than on the record. I think that's kind of the important thing. And I like engaging the audience, but at the same time helping tell the story, because it's a story. So just kind of storytelling, I guess. I feel like there were so many years of my life where I was like, maybe I'll find, like, you know, the person that'll be the perfect collaborator and we'll start a band. I started plenty of bands. I've had a lot of bands, and most of them break apart, and people aren't as dedicated as you, and there's a lot of issues that come with it. What I found, when I found the most luck for myself, I learned Ableton. I got VSTs. I taught myself the keys. I was programming drums. I was doing things to further my career on my own. Because at the end of the day, especially as a girl, at least in my opinion, as a woman, I think it's important to be able to get your vision across so other people can understand it. Because it's very easy to be silenced and be taught no, or be told, oh, well, maybe this would be a better sound, or this would be better for you. And if you come out the gate being like, no, this is what I'm doing, and they're like, it's your decision, it's important to hustle enough to be able to explain your vision to people. I think that's important. And write songs all the time and post them and make cold calls. Be obnoxious, you know, be like, hey, we met this one time and I don't know if you remember me, but you listened to my music and you liked it. I'd love to get coffee and show it to you again and maybe talk to you about what I'm doing. Be a hustler, you know? Otherwise, I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to. And blind ambition, right? Just like, keep it going. That's what I think. Just and keep going and don't get discouraged. It's so easy to feel like there's so many people in the industry so saturated, which it is due to like digital. The digital world has changed it. It's the Wild West, you know, but I think all you can do is believe in yourself and keep pushing and play live. Playing live is important. Get your fan base going, I think. Yeah. I've just did my first headline tour, and I'm finishing it up right now. I'm going here and then Osheaga and then a couple other festivals, and then another headline tour, and then I'm working on the second album right now on the bus, and just keep going. Keep working, keep writing, stay inspired. That's kind of my goal. I guess I wish I could say like, oh, like all these glamour mags, like, oh, I just want to, but I really don't want to like push that side of things. You know, like my career, I want it to go in a trajectory of someone that is respected for their art above like Beauty Tips by Ryn Weaver, you know? Like, it's so easy to go into that place as a young female artist, but I think it's such a trap. And so for me, it's just staying true and making music. Hey guys, I'm Ryn Weaver, and this is GRAMMY Pro.